You know, Amir Khan might just be the biggest movie star outside of Hollywood. He is the undisputed king of Bollywood with a B, which means he's got fans. I'm talking a few 100 million fans. Listen to this. 2008, Amir starred in Gajini, which, by the way, was inspired by the Hollywood film Memento. Gajini became the highest-grossing Bollywood film of all time. That is, until last year, when it was surpassed by another movie called Three Idiots.
Out of control,
Who starred in Three Idiots? You got it, Amir Khan. But Amir is successful for more than just the movies he's been in. He's actually earned success on his own terms. He defied the conventions of Bollywood by only shooting one movie at a time. Plus, he challenges his audience, putting emotionally complex characters and politically sensitive stories on the big screen. His latest film is called Dobhi Ghat, and that actually tackles class and language barriers in his hometown of Mumbai. And talk about a personal project, it was written and directed by a woman called Kiran Rao, who happens to be Amir's wife.
Everybody, please welcome to the program, Amir Khan. How are you, sir? Hi, guys. Pleasure to see you, man. How are you? Pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, it's a pleasure.
It was when you were standing over there and the bio was running, and there was the scene where we'd shown a picture of your wife. You had the nicest smile on your face.
Yeah. Well, she's wonderful. I'm so glad that I met her in life, actually. Yeah.
But think about it, because didn't you initially get a little hesitant to work on a project like this with her?
Well, actually, when she told me she was working on a script, I was really nervous. Because I was like, one of these days, this script is going to get complete and ready, and then I'll have to read it, and what if I don't like it,
And then some people in a relationship don't want to hear the truth about their script. What was she like?
Well, she's a very straight up and honest person, so she would like me to say the truth, but it still is, it's still not comfortable, and it's a little heartbreaking if you don't like something your partner has done, and I was nervous about that, so it doesn't sound very good, but I was hoping the script would never be complete. That's the truth. And then one day, she said, "Okay, I'm ready," and I was like, "Okay." So I said, there's a cousin of mine who's a brilliant filmmaker back home in India, and he's kind of bit of a hermit, so he's kind of moved away from filmmaking over the last 5 or 8 years. And so I said, let's go and meet him. He lives in the south of India, and I said, let's go and meet him, and let's hear the script together so you can read it out to us. And I thought if he didn't like it as well, then I'd have some numbers on my side, And so we did that. We actually went to Kunur, which is in the south of India. It's a lovely hill station there. And she read it out to Mansoor and me. And I just loved it. I mean, from the first scene itself, I got sucked into it. And I found her writing so delicate and brilliant, and the way she's written her characters, the voice of each character is so, unique and different. And, I fell in love with the script, and I fell in love with her once again, actually. Yeah. It's really well written. And
you totally knew that was going to happen.
No, but that's the truth. That is the truth. And when I began working with her, I mean, writing a script is one thing, but actually making a film is another. And to be a filmmaker, to be a film director, to be a good film director, you have to be a really good leader, because you're dealing with people and you're trying to get the best out of them. She's got amazing qualities as a director. She's very sensitive towards her actors. She's got a great energy about her, so everyone loves her, and she's a great leader, which all of us are really happy to follow her. So I feel really happy and privileged to be part of this film, and I feel so proud of Kiran. Yeah.
The translation of the title is as Mumbai Diaries.
Yes.
People talk about September 11th, and obviously in London has their stuff. Mumbai is a city that went through some serious challenges as well. And
yes.
Is it still, talk about the effect that the terrorist attacks have had on the city?
Well, actually, there have been a number of terrorist attacks, not only in Mumbai, but in other parts of India as well. And it's something that's most traumatic. And I guess everywhere in the world today, we are dealing with that and are confronted with that. Sometimes I feel that as people, not only in India, but all over the world, I feel as people we have forgotten the power of forgiveness, and the power and the healing power that forgiveness has. And I think as a result of that, it's, just constantly kind of snowballing into, a lot of us just breaking into violence, and there is a lot of misinformation floating around, and that kind of fans' emotions. So these are difficult times we're living in, I guess.
India's changed so much. I mean, just in the span of your career, India's gone from one television channel to 100 television channels.
Right.
And, if you look at the list of billionaires around the world, 2 are from India. And everybody talks about the growing, the president of middle class.
2 on record.
2, right? Yeah, on record, right. Right. That's true. There are probably more. But just the middle class, I mean, India's changed a lot. How or has it, though? You still get the sense that, while there is prosperity coming there, people still wonder if India has changed.
It's a country that's dramatically changing. It really is. Just purely in terms of its cinema, I think at one time, in the 80s or so, there was just this mainstream kind of films, and those were kind of very formulaic, and now you have so many young filmmakers, and I'd like to believe that I'm part of that group which has brought in a lot of change in Indian cinema. And today, what is mainstream? No one can define it. I mean, the films that have been the huge successes over the last few years, some of them that I've been part of, have really broken the mold of what was mainstream Indian cinema.
But that's the idea of changing the stories in film in India changing. I can imagine in 10 years it's going to be even bigger, because for the longest time, and I mean, Bollywood is always synonymous with musicals. They're not all musicals, but it plays a big role. But they're always about hope. There's always this idea of hope. And French cinema and American cinema really changed when it was no longer about hope.
That's right.
About despair.
That's right. Well, I think, Indian cinema is difficult to... because all along, not just now, but all along you've had first of all, you have to understand that we have 22 languages in our country. So we have films made in all of these 22 languages. And so when you say Indian cinema, Hindi is the national language. So that's one cinema. And then you have Tamil and Telugu and Malayalam, Gujarati, and etc. So what is really Indian cinema? Because it's so diverse. But within all of that, I think that you can broadly say that all along we've had these big mainstream films, and then you also had offbeat films and offbeat cinema happening right across, right from Satyajit Ray to before him and after him. So it's not something that has not been happening, offbeat films and films that challenge what is the mainstream. They have been happening all along. Also, it's a country which is strange because, for example, a lot of people like me, and there's a huge population of us, who have grown up in big cities like Mumbai and Chennai and Delhi and Calcutta, our entire education is in English. So English becomes our first language, and we think in English.
And for many, English is the only language.
Yes, that is also true. But what happens is, for someone like me, I have strong influences on me which are Indian. And then I also have strong influences on me which are from all over the world, because all my reading is in English. I haven't read a single book in Hindi. So I've read authors, when I was a kid, I was reading Enid Blyton. So, right from a small age, you have influences which are so diverse. So someone like me, by the time I'm 18 or so, and I'm getting into a field which is cinema, there are so many influences on me, and I'm not purely Indian in that sense. And so there are a lot of people like me who are, who have grown up with a lot of influences on them. And so what we come out with is not necessarily purely Indian, if you know what I mean.
What did you think then? Because for a lot of people, I was lucky enough to grow up in a neighborhood that was very diverse, and there was a large Indian and Pakistani population, and there are those places in Canada. But for many people, their understanding of Indian culture is Slumdog Millionaire, and that really. Yeah. What did you think of that?
Well, I thought the film. I can see why it did well. I can see why it really connected with people, and I'm a big fan of Danny, and I was so happy for him and his entire team that the film did so well. I think for someone like me who has lived all his life in India, it didn't ring true on a lot of levels. The fact is that I have strong points of reference. Being an Indian, I have strong points of reference. So when cops in the police station speak in English, it doesn't seem correct to me. Or when the slum kid speaks in English and in a British accent, it kind of jars, you know. But I can
50
see... 50
years ago, maybe that would have happened, right? The British accent.
So I think that, you know, unfortunately, you know, for a film like Slumdog, and because it's not really an Indian point of view, I think Danny is someone who's not Indian, and that's his take, and I think he's hugely talented. But it's not really how India is. You know, unfortunately, I have a strong reference point, so I can't help but react that way. But I can see why people who don't have a reference point love the film.
For sure. Yeah. All right, stick around. We're going to actually play some Anthropology with AMIR Khan right after this. You're back here on the program. We're hanging out with AMIR Khan. Time to get in some rapid-fire questions. Are you ready, sir?
You know, I'm most uncomfortable with these rapid-fire questions, but
yeah,
go ahead.
It's coming. You can handle it. You're good for it. All right, let me see which one I'm going to... Okay, explain in less than 10 seconds the rules of cricket.
Oh. Okay, so there are 3 sticks on one end, 3 sticks on the other end. There's one guy coming in and throwing the ball, wanting to knock the sticks off. The other guy with the bat is knocking the ball off. And once you hit the ball, everyone starts running madly here and there.
I think you did it. Nice. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, I think it's got to be Panchgani, which is a hill station by road about 4.5 hours drive from Mumbai. And that's where I used to go as a kid with my family, and I've been going there all through my life, and I have very strong memories of the place.
We've had artists on the show who, you know, they make the projects.
You know, George, I've been looking at you all along, and I'm wondering where I've seen you. And I've just realized I was at the opening film.
Yes.
The hockey film.
That's right, yes.
And you were in the film.
I was in the film, yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You were in the film, yeah. That's where I'd seen you.
Oh, so you were at the opening of the film festival.
It was a really enjoyable film, great fun. Yeah. It was really refreshing to see, you know, Canadians breaking out into songs. For a change.
You just expected one of the hockey players to start doing this, right? That's what it was? A Bollywood moment.
Yeah.
It was a fun film to work on.
It was. Yeah.
What's the most daring thing you've ever done?
Well, it wasn't a very smart thing to do, but in a film I had to run on the railway tracks onto an oncoming train, and I decided to do the shot myself. And in the script it read that, you know, my character, Siddharth Marathe, he jumps off at the last second. And when we shot the sequence, I had no idea that I was actually jumping off the last second, because the train was a good, you know, maybe 30, 40 feet away when I jumped off. But that distance the train covers in a second.
Yeah.
Which I discovered in the editing room. You know, when you can actually time, you know, the footage. And I realized that when I jumped off to when the train reached where I was, it was 1.2 seconds. So the train actually missed me by 1.2 seconds, which was very scary, because after that I couldn't sleep for days.
Yeah, no kidding, man. All right, last question. Why aren't fish and chips as popular in India as curry is in the UK?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I guess because it doesn't taste as good.
The film is called Don't Be God. AMIR Khan, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. Salvo.com is the website. Let's spend time with my friends. We'll see you next time.